This is WWP Weekly Wrestling Podcast.
First of all, we'd like to thank Proven Ground Pro and XWA for making this happen. Always appreciate when promotions help us out, so thank you guys for that. And speaking of XWA, let's jump right into that situation because I've heard there's big rumblings going on right now at the conclusion of the XWA Extreme Rumble on January the 17th. The Kingdom, the team of Michael Bennett and Matt Taven, aligned with Warbeard Hansen, Bob Evans, Bobby Cruz, and took the event hostage. Now, Bobby Cruz basically went on to say that him and his men were insulted at the event and the very existence of XWA, and went on to say that there's a lot more men where they came from. Now, we know that you're a staple to ROH, but you're also the XWA champion and have been associated with XWA since 2004, Tommaso. The question is, whose side are you on?
Yeah, man, the whole thing kind of came as a surprise to me. I watched it firsthand, wrestling earlier that night. I was able to watch the Rumble from up close and personal. And, I didn't know what to think that night. It caught me off guard. Still kind of processing it. I've had some calls from both XWA as well as men lined up with Bobby Cruz, and I've chose to just ignore the calls for now. I will be there at their next live event. And as far as I'm concerned, at Deception on March 22nd, that's when I'm going to speak on the matter and kind of give my answers and let the people know what's on my mind.
Basically just keeping it under wraps to now. Totally understand and respect that, man. So March 22nd, the place to be if you want to figure out the answers to that question. But let's move on to one of the main reasons why we have you on the air as March 1st, live on pay-per-view, Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary show. You'll be challenging for the Ring of Honor World Championship as you challenge the champion, Jay Briscoe, and also have two other challengers in that match, Michael Elgin and Hansen. Talk a little bit about this match. Talk a little bit about the opportunity at hand here.
Yeah, man, what you see on paper, it pretty much explains it. It's high stakes. Everything's on the line especially as far as Jay Briscoe's concerned, because he's really the only guy with something to lose. But it's four of the best competitors in Ring of Honor in wrestling, period, right now. It's guys that I'm completely familiar with across the board. Everybody's preparing in their own way. I think everyone's training hard. From what I hear, everyone is, upped it, whether that means double sessions or a stricter diet or whatever it may be. So I think physically everybody's going to come March 1st on their A game. I'd expect nothing less. But the coolest part of the whole thing is all the eyes are going to be on us. This is, for me, my biggest match of my career. Not only because the Ring of Honor World title is on the line, but the fact that it's a live pay-per-view. It's still something that I have trouble processing at times, to think that, my parents can watch this sitting at home on their actual cable television. It's not one of those things that you have to give somebody a login and a password and, make sure they have a good stream or anything. It's such a cool feeling to know that the entire world gets to see you do what you've been, practicing for your entire life. So that's the best part for me, March 1st. It's really an opportunity that words can't express.
You talk about the preparation for everybody else for this match. Let's talk about the preparation you're doing for this match.
Yeah, the preparation sucks, to be honest with you. I've definitely died in the past. There's 2 points in my career I remember specifically where I felt like, man, this is the hardest I've ever dieted. And I don't even know that they were specifically for a reason. One was when I had my first ever opportunity in the Super 8, which was my first big independent booking after being released from WWE. So it was like, I guess there was a purpose there. Another time was coming back from knee surgery where I was just training my ass off. I had all the time in the world to do so. And I don't know, man. I don't even know if those compare to now. things kind of lined up right for me. I recently relocated from Boston to Milwaukee, bought a home out here, and pretty much as soon as we got here, found out my wife is going to be taken off for work because she travels for her work as well. And she's been gone since the first of the year, and she doesn't get back until March 3rd. So these last 2 months, I've literally lived alone with my dog in a home in a state where I have no friends, so no family or friends. So it's been. I feel like it's Rocky Balboa going to Russia to train for his big fight. It's like I have no excuses. I have no interference whatsoever in my entire life that is deterring me from March 1st. So it's my diet. I basically went on an 8-week plan to try to peak just at the right time. My performance training is, I wouldn't even say, I don't think it's insane in the sense that, oh my God, I'm doing triple sessions a day, because I'm not. I'm training smarter than I've ever trained in the past. I train once a day for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours when you include, warming up and stretching and everything. But I'm training smart. I'm training explosive. I feel great. I feel really, really great. It's physically, mentally, emotionally. But I don't know, man. The more I think of it, I don't think the training is what's going to determine who wins March 1st, because I've been prepared in the past for these types of matches. I've had 3 world title shots now in Ring of Honor, and every single one of them I was physically prepared, healthy, and ready to go. And I think for me, the biggest thing that has changed from my last, I'd say from my loss to Michael Elgin in Chicago and my loss to Jay Briscoe in England, is the last 3 months has been a really good time for me to mentally prepare myself for what's to come. And I feel more mentally prepared than I've ever been in my life.
Let's talk a little bit about the injuries and the demotivators you've had throughout your career, because I feel like that's a big topic. I feel like that's a big play into what's going on in your career right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had a demotivator. I've never taken a break from wrestling, that wasn't due to surgery. And I don't even have the personality to think like, oh man, everything happens for a reason. That's not my nature. I don't take bad news or doors closing as, oh, I'm going to use this as motivation or fuel. I really use my love for wrestling as my fuel. It's always been that way. I don't know if it's something I picked up somewhere along the lines from my dad or what it was, but somewhere along the lines of my life, I just viewed, I don't want something that is negative to be what drives me. I feel like that's bad energy. So I've always just used the fact that I love pro wrestling. I love the sport. I love the art form. I love everything about it. Even the stuff that bothers me about it, I think you eat shit long enough, you learn to love the taste of it type of thing. So whether I've had surgery or been fired from jobs or whatever, I've never used it as like, I'm going to redeem myself. I've just always used it as I'm going to get back to doing what I love.
All right, I totally understand that one, man. Let's move forward to another big thing that got announced on March the 15th. You'll be making your Smash Wrestling debut at Any Given Sunday 3, and you'll be taking on somebody you've been in the ring with before at PWG, and Chris Hero. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for that. It was about maybe a few weeks ago I started really pushing hard to start getting some international bookings, and I had actually just put out a tweet and a little Facebook thing saying, hey, what promotions are out there. Just figured, sometimes the fans have their finger right on the pulse, and the more people I could get to give me ideas, the better. And while I was asking for international and overseas booking, Smash Wrestling was the number one promotion that kept getting mentioned out. And not that I'm unfamiliar with them. We've actually spoken in the past. Dates just haven't lined up. And it was just ironic that people started contacting me about it, tweets started going out about it, and all of a sudden we were able to finally match on a date. So I'm excited for it. Chris Hero is a guy when I was entering Ring of Honor that I looked up to quite a bit. I would never say we had a personal relationship at that time so much. I mean, hellos and goodbyes. But as an in-ring performer, I just really, really loved what he was doing and continues to do today. To be honest, our PWG match wasn't entirely what I envisioned. I think nerves might have got the best of me that night. But I'm really excited to get in front of that Smash crowd, and I feel like I'm a better performer than I was, even 6 months ago. And I know Chris is looking forward to it, so I think it's going to be a really cool time.
Now, talk a little bit about how it's going to compare to the match you guys had at PWG, and talk a little bit about looking forward to the Smash Wrestling atmosphere.
It's hard for me to say. I can't really compare because I've never been in front of that Smash crowd. I've seen YouTube links. I've heard from guys, but it's always different when you get in front of them. I think when I entered PWG for my first time, while people did, I think, know who I was because of Ring of Honor, I don't think I really was spreading my wings all that much by the time I got into PWG. In reality, PWG helped me spread my wings. That's between PWG and Ring of Honor, and then getting stuff overseas. That's really helped me grow tremendously as a performer over the past year plus. We're now walking into Smash. I feel like I'm a better prepared wrestler. I'm more well-rounded. I think the match will be different for a lot of reasons because of that. There's so many variables that change from night to night and venue to venue and crowd to crowd. But I think it's going to be a really fun time. I really do. I'm just excited for it. I think with PWG working Chris Hero, I was a little bit nervous, and I don't have any nerves going into Smash. I'm just genuinely excited for the opportunity.
Now, with you going for the Ring of Honor World Championship at the 13th anniversary show, you're not a stranger, to championships in Ring of Honor. You've been the Ring of Honor TV champion. Let's talk a little bit about being the Ring of Honor TV champion, how it compares to this World Championship match.
When I won the Ring of Honor television title, I wouldn't say it surprised people, but I don't know that it wasn't everything I was hoping it would be. That night was magical for me. And whether I didn't make the most of the opportunity or I didn't place myself in the proper positions or I wasn't placed in the proper position, I just felt like I never got going as a television champion. I felt like I won the title and I kind of fuddled around a little bit in three-way matches, and I never really had the run that I envisioned. I envisioned myself taking on competitors who at the time I never really faced, and who at the time I thought that I could really put on great showings with and surprise people. Guys like Cedric Alexander and ACH and Silas Young in one-on-one matchups. I thought that there was a big opportunity there for myself to take an undercard title and really make it relevant. To be realistic, I think that's exactly what Jay Lethal has done since regaining the title. He's gone on to wrestle guys like Cedric Alexander and ACH and have these fantastic matches, and now it culminates for him with Alberto Del Rio Alberto El Patron at the pay-per-view. So I guess there's a little piece of me that's envious of that I feel like Jay Lethal was able to accomplish something that I wanted to accomplish at that time. And now going in with the Ring of Honor World title, I'm just in a different place. I feel ready to main event, show in and show out, night in and night out. I feel prepared for it. There's so many fresh matchups for me if I was to win the world title, and I feel so prepared for them. Like it's hard to explain. It's just something where I've envisioned these matchups. I'm ready to take on guys like AJ Styles. I'm ready to take on anybody. Jay Briscoe and I have only had one singles matchup in Ring of Honor. It'd be great to take the Ring of Honor World title and to go against a guy like Jay Lethal, who we've now separated for over a year, and we're on completely different paths and completely different places in our career. I just feel like if I win the Ring of Honor World title, that I'm prepared to take the company into the next chapter, more so than I've ever been prepared in my life.
Now, what do you believe is that next chapter for Ring of Honor?
More pay-per-views, wider television audience exposure. I thought Adam Cole was right on track when he had the world title in his possession. I thought he was doing a great job. People agreed or disagreed with his in-ring attitude. He understood. He got it. He got that it's time for us to grow. We're ready to grow. You know, we have the talent to do it. The production just continues to get better and better. Programming, it looks fantastic. You know, we get the television here in Milwaukee, and it's good TV. I like the 1 hour block. I like it. I think it's action packed. It's good matchups. I think reaching out to more, whether it be radio stations or PR, it's all stuff that I feel prepared to do. I feel prepared to work extra hours. You know, I don't plan to slow down anytime soon. I'm so healthy right now. Like, I haven't been this healthy in years, and so many things seem to be lined up properly for me. There's a lot of stuff I've been working on behind the scenes, not preparing for March 1st, but then finding out that I have this big opportunity March 1st. Again, it just lined up perfectly. There's some stuff that I have that I'll be debuting really soon, and come Las Vegas, I have I don't know if it's a big surprise, but I have something in store for the pay-per-view audience that I think is going to be really cool.
Looking forward to it. You're going to have to tune in March 1st to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with the relationship that Ring of Honor and New Japan have, do you see yourself going to New Japan anytime soon? Is that a goal for you?
I hope so, man. I mean, when they came here last time, they actually hosted a tryout camp. I think it was my second tryout with New Japan. A few years back when I was at Harley's, I had done a Noah camp, which went really well. And I came really close to going there a couple times, and it just never panned out. And then I did a New Japan camp not long ago. Well, yeah, I guess it was long ago now, probably about 5 years ago or so. It was right along the time I was getting into Ring of Honor. It was in New Jersey, and I just remember it going so well, like to the point where I had people approaching me and like, hey, you should probably work on learning a little Japanese, and you're definitely, like, I mean, it was literally like, you're definitely coming. But you hear that so much as a wrestler. You know, I think in the entertainment world, it's like you just can't believe anything until you actually have a flight and an itinerary in hand, you know. And then I went to the camp when Ring of Honor hosted it with New Japan, and I felt like I really stood out. You know, there was two days of matches. I had a match on just one of the days, but I was there for both days, and without that, trying to sound too arrogant, I felt like I had the best performance of anyone at the camp. I just felt ready. I walked into the doors that day thinking like there's going to be bigger guys or stronger or faster, but I know how to wrestle, man. I'm like, my intensity stood out. It went really well, and nothing came of it. So hopefully it's something that I'm able to revisit. I've been working really hard on repackaging myself slightly, trying to make myself slightly more marketable, and that's stuff that I think is going to start to come to fruition over the next couple months. And hopefully something happens. You know, you just keep doing what you're doing and just hope things fall in place. There's not too much you can do to force your way into Japan, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a couple of weeks ago you had the most recent Ring of Honor match with Tyson Dukes. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tyson's awesome, man. We met a few times. Never had the chance to get in a ring together. Mutual friends with Kevin Steen / Owens. So it's weird, man. Me and Kevin get along really, really well. I don't think I have many friends in wrestling, you know, acquaintances, of course, but not many personal friends. And Kevin's one of those guys we just clicked really quick. And it's every time I wrestle a friend of Kevin, it's like it has that weird, like, I almost feel like we become friends right away. You know, it happened with Frankie the Monster, it happened with Tyson Duke, where it's just like that mutual bond that we just click. And that's how it was with Tyson. He's an awesome competitor. I really enjoyed the matchup. I did, you know, when I found out we were wrestling, I watched back some footage of him, and it seems like he's come close so many times to breaking out to that next level. And, you know, just like I was talking about Japan, it's like things just just missed for him, whether that was timing or management or whatever it be. So I hope for him and for his sake that he gets more opportunities, whether it's in Ring of Honor or elsewhere, just where he can showcase his talent to a wider audience, because he's tremendous. He's a good guy outside the ring, real intense, real physical, just a good guy. And I see him a little bit more now that I'm in Milwaukee, because we tend to do a few of the same loops toward the Chicago area.
Speaking of one of those loops, actually, we brought up Proving Ground Pro at the beginning of the interview, and you were actually on the same show with him, that Ryan Buckley Memorial Tournament. Let's talk a little bit about that Proving Ground Pro show.
Yeah, Proving Ground Pro's been fun. I've worked twice with them now. Once was in a really cool, funky atmosphere where it was like a stage. The ring's on a stage, and the crowd's all on one side. And I worked a guy named Rough Crossing, which he's one of those guys, like, you move to a new area, I'm not familiar with this local scene. There's a lot of bad in this local scene. There really is, which I guess is the case for anywhere. It's truthfully, like, New England, to me, is the best overall wrestling scene in the country, for the sheer fact that, like, guys just know fundamentals. Like, just the simple things.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that, because there's a lot of talent in the New England scene. There's a lot of great promotions in the New England scene as well.
Yeah, it's just ahead of the game. And I really, you kind of credit it, I guess, if you, like, kind of time it back. Like, Killer Kowalski had his school, which Mike Hollow headed. And Mike Hollow, who I don't think he's doing much now, but he's the best fundamental wrestling trainer I've ever come across. And I've been with so many people at this point in my life. Like, I've trained with Harley and his top students at the time, and I trained with Al Snow and Robert Gibson and Dr. Tom and all these people. And Dr. Tom and Coach Hollow are, like, as similar as it gets. And man, he was just the best. So you have him teaching all these guys and helping guys along, like Slick Wagner Brown and John Walters and Willie Ortiz, who then are helping along that next group. And then on the other side of it, you have a guy like Steve Bradley, who had so much influence with people like Brian Fury and Nicky Rocks and so many others, that I think it's like we just had this great beginning place to train, and then everybody who branched down from there tried to keep that certain level of, like, this is the proper way to do it. You have to work on learning how to wrestle before you can be, a superstar or a flyer or anything. Like, you have to know how to call a match and put it together, and you have to know basic psychology. You have to know ring positioning and placement and how to strike properly. So it's like that scene is ahead of the curve. And then coming out here, of course, there's some standouts for sure. But man, it's like there's some stuff that I see on shows. And what the hell is happening? Like, why do you feel that you have earned the right to put on spandex and go out there and call yourself a pro wrestler? It's like, it's mind-blowing to me. But not to get too off topic, like, when going to Proving Ground Pro, one of the things I say, well, Rough Crossing is one of those guys I've never heard of, and met him and, talked to him for 2 minutes, and then we go out there and we have a match, and man, what a pleasant surprise. That guy is awesome. He's injured right now and he's out hurt. I'm hoping he comes back soon, but such a good guy. I've now had the pleasure of seeing him a couple times on the road. I don't know him well, but from what I see, he's just a good guy, good head on his shoulders, good wrestler. Proving Ground Pro, that's a fun place to wrestle. And the tournament at the last show was a fun time as well. They just have a lot of good talent there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Talk a little bit about your finals match with Blake Steele. I know a lot of people are talking highly of that one.
Yeah, Blake's a good competitor, man. He's a guy I would love to get in there with when we didn't have to wrestle 3 matches in one night.
Yeah.
It just affects it. It affects everything, I know myself when I watch wrestling, if I see somebody's entrance the first time, that's when I'm most excited about them. And by the third time I see their entrance, I'm the least excited about them. So like that plays a factor. It was a long night being a tournament, so people were tired, and it was, honestly, to the point where, like, I think a few people probably filtered out because kids just wearing out. So this is one of those things where I would love to wrestle with him, where it was our first time out the curtain, it was fresh for everybody, and I think we'd we would have a lot of fun together. He's a good competitor. He's got a great look too. I remember the first time I met him, that was the thing that jumped out at me. I was like, man, like what a good look for a guy. Like he's unique, you know. There's something about him that kind of draws your attention to him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Going forward, let's talk a little bit about you competing in the IWF World Title Tournament, and I believe getting into the ring for the first time with Drew Galloway.
Oh, Arizona. Yeah, that place is awesome. I'm talking to them now about, you know, lining up more dates. It was my first time out there. From, you know, chatting with them, it definitely won't be my last time out there. We're trying to get something set up on a consistent basis. It's just so hard with scheduling. But it was just, from top to bottom, such a fun time. Like, I remember, you know, we all piled in at a local hotel, and everyone's meeting in the lobby, you know, to get transported to the venue. And you're just looking at everybody, and you're like, man, like, what a crazy group of wrestlers this is. Like, it was such a unique bunch of guys. It had like a little bit of a PWG feel to it with the talent there, but then there was also like oddballs thrown in. It was just like really a cool dynamic to it. Drew is like, I could never, you know, say enough good about him. One, he's just a monster, like one of the biggest men I've ever come across in my life, you know. Physical, hits hard, intense, just a good dude, you know. I really liked wrestling him, and I felt like it brought out a little bit more intensity for myself. The crowd was awesome. Funny thing from Arizona is, so there was a fan there named Kelby, who I went out after my match was over and after intermission. I just went out to watch the last couple matches, which I like to watch wrestling live as often as I can. And Kelby, he spotted me, and he would constantly come over asking different questions and stuff. He's a young kid. And he then followed up with finding me on Twitter, and I put my booking email address up there, and he sends me to this day, like, I don't know, probably like 3 to 5 emails a week of some of the funniest stuff I've ever received in emails. Like, it's most likely than not, it has nothing to do with wrestling, but he'll send me something like, he sent me a photo of a pole vaulter from Asia named Tim You Suck, and just asked my thoughts on it. Like, dude, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain to this kid. Like, my wife and I Skype because that's the only way to see each other right now with her being away, and sharing Kelby emails with her is like one of the most fun things for me to do right now, because it's just one of those things where I'm training so hard and I'm so focused, and getting these little emails from this dude, it's just great stuff. Like, he's, I don't know, I would assume he may be slightly autistic or something a little different, but just such a kind-hearted kid. I don't know if he'll listen to this podcast, but I bring it up purposely in case he does listen to it, because, man, what a funny, cool dude he is.
That does sound like an awesome time. And talk a little bit about wrestling overseas. Talk a little bit about that, and then kind of transition into some goals you have, short-term, long-term.
Yeah, wrestling overseas is kind of the goal for me in a lot of aspects of my wrestling career right now. I finally got my first taste, you know, of doing Germany and England, and then, you know, Ring of Honor went back for that awesome Preston City tour that we did in November last year, which was just phenomenal. Rumblings say we might do it again, and hopefully we do. But, you know, I've been reaching out to every place possible, because I think a lot of the time, you know, you wait around for places to contact you, but why would they, realistically? You know, especially like I look at guys like Generico and what he did on his independent run, and he wrestled everywhere, and it's fascinating to me. Colt Cabana is doing it right now. Like, these guys they travel the world, and the more you wrestle different places, I think the more you realize it's kind of all the same. So I don't know if it becomes less of, I need to wrestle this specific talent, as much as, like, I just want that experience. I just want that exposure. I want to be in front of this different crowd. I want, even if it's like the smallest nuances of the style that might change from country to country or whatever it be. It's just something I want to experience. So lately that's kind of been a big thing of mine. I spend a lot of my time emailing out to promotions, whether they're in Scotland or Switzerland or Italy, Spain, all over the place. And it's something I was actually working on earlier today. I'm trying really hard to line up some stuff. I know I'll be going back to England in May. I'll let the company, announce it before I do, but it's a place I haven't worked yet. I'm very excited for it. It's something that we've tried lining up a couple times and it hasn't worked out in the past, so it should be a blast. I'm doing a ton of stuff in Canada coming up, and I'm really trying hard to finalize a couple dates with other promotions in different countries. One place specifically I'm trying really hard for is ICW in Scotland, because especially after working with Drew Galloway recently, he's such a big star there, and he's trying to help me out with that. It's just lining up dates has been a nightmare. 4 times now I've tried matching dates, and all 4 times it's like, oh, I got Ring of Honor, sorry, can't do it. Which is, it's fine. It's not. I can't complain about that. I'd rather have work than not have work, but it's just the logistics of it.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. Going forward to February the 27th at PWG, you'll be facing somebody we were actually talking about it earlier on in the interview, in Cedric Alexander. You guys had a great match on Ring of Honor TV not too long ago.
That should be interesting. It's one of those scenarios where a lot of times, from what I see, just as a outside guy looking in, it seems like PWG is really good at taking matches that have gone well elsewhere and putting them on that Rosita stage, and wow, it's like they hit another level. I'm interested to see what happens with Cedric and I, considering we have had, I think we had one match in Ring of Honor that was a straight normal wrestling rules match, and I thought it went really well. And then we had a no DQ match that got a lot of people really talking. It really opened up.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah, and the feedback was tremendous. And it's interesting now, because now we're going to go to PWG, but it's not going to be no DQ or guerrilla warfare or anything like that. At least as far as I know, it's not going to be. So it'll be interesting to try to live up to a no DQ match when the rules are back to being implemented, because there's just certain things you can't get away with, But Cedric's one of those guys that every time I'm in the ring with him, you feel like, wow, you kind of feel lucky in a sense. Man, I get to wrestle with some of the best guys in the world, and he's one of those guys. He's just tremendous. He's such a great athlete. He's so explosive, it's ridiculous. It's funny, he kind of not by look by any means, but his style and his explosiveness, he reminds me a lot of Austin Aries, and he's just one of those guys when you have a match with him, that you have to be on your A game, So I'm looking forward to it. I think PWG will add kind of its own element to it, so it should be a fun time.
I definitely agree with you there. And on February 27th, we're going to be seeing quite a few debuts. What are your thoughts on those?
I think I've seen them all. I know Monster Mafia has a huge opportunity with the Young Bucks. And that's one of those things where it's you're excited you debut at a place like PWG, and then all of a sudden here you're facing the Young Bucks, and it's there's no way they could possibly be feeling nerves, because the Young Bucks are incapable of having a bad performance. So it's you can't write it better. I kind of felt that way. I remember when Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett and Cedric made their debut, and it's 3 good friends from the same area get to wrestle each other, and I was like, wow. That, you can't have a better debut than that. And they had an amazing match. And then the next show, it was them 3 versus Young Bucks and Steen. And I was like, okay, well, you definitely can't have a better match than that. That's perfect. That's ideal. And now with Steen gone, it's the Young Bucks. Those are the guys. Those are, no one could argue that they're just the 2 most over guys on the independent scene right now. So good for Monster Mafia. I've seen them wrestle a few times in Ring of Honor, a couple times on YouTube and stuff, and they're awesome as a tag team. They're unique, and I think they're gonna tear the house down. And the other ones, I've never met Speedball. I've seen him wrestle Biff once through YouTube, and I don't know. Like to me, he looks like he's unique and different. And I don't know if he has like a karate background or something, but he's got kicks that go on for days. So that should be cool. Beaver Boys, I'm relatively familiar with. Everybody who goes to PWG, I don't think I've ever seen a bad debut. Yeah. It's like you don't get to that stage unless you belong there. So I would assume that all the guys are going to do really well.
That is correct. That's very true. Now, moving forward, it is Wednesday, which means today is NXT TakeOver Rival, and I'd be appalled if I didn't ask you your prediction for Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn.
Dude, it's like the coolest thing about NXT right now for me is that I've truly been allowed to be a fan of it. Like, I'm still a fan of the product, like, with wrestling. Like, I can't watch TNA. We don't even get that in Milwaukee since they switched. And I'd be lying if I said I watched a lot of it. And it's nothing against TNA. I don't know. I never would watch a lot of the product. But WWE, for WWE, for instance, I never watch SmackDown. I don't even know what night it's on. I'm pretty sure I DVR it. I just never watch it. But I do watch Raw as often as I can, even if it's like background noise. I try to keep up on it as much as I can. But nothing recently has like sucked me in where I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for it. Like when I was a kid, I remember like every Monday, like it would end and I'd be like, oh my God, 7 more days till Monday. Like, man, I just can't wait for Monday to get here. Like that's all I would think about all weekend is like, I can't wait for Monday Night Raw. And I haven't felt that way in a long time, but this NXT stuff is amazing. Like, it's not so much the episodic TV stuff, which is still good from what I see. I don't see all of it. But, like, these specials have been mind-blowingly entertaining to me. Every single one of them. Like, it's one of those things. And I don't even know if I'll see it live tonight. I'll probably be off a few hours or maybe even catch it tomorrow. But I definitely won't miss it. It's like that last, I think it was the last one that they had with, wasn't that the one with Charlotte and Sasha Banks? Yep. Like, and I hate women's wrestling. I just think it's dreadful. And that match was freaking incredible. Like, I just remember the match ending, and like I know Sasha a little bit because she came from New England, and just the match ending, and it's just like, wow, that's the best women's match I've ever watched in my life. Like, it was awesome, and then you watch Generico and Sami Zayn and Neville, and you're like, wow, like it's just these guys. I think that some of the guys are able to bring the WWE style, the Ring of Honor style, and it's like they found this perfect formula. Especially Sami Zayn, he's found this formula that you're like, man, he can't miss. So I don't know, man. I have no idea who's going to win, and I like that I don't know who's going to win. I'm sure I could bug Kevin more about how things are going in NXT than I do, but I choose not to. It's just, he's my friend. He's just my friend. Like, I don't want to bug him about work. He's just my buddy. But I couldn't be happier for him. I know he's loving the whole process so far. So I don't know. I think I heard, didn't they say something about like Sami Zayn might be going on some tour and he might not be at the taping or something? Like, that's all that insider info. I don't know if that could play into it. If I was to guess, I would guess Sami Zayn keeps the title. It just seems like he went on such a long journey to win the title, and for him to lose it that fast seems a little bit, it would throw me off a little bit. But hey, the beauty of wrestling to me is watch it all play out. Like, it's just like the Royal Rumble that just passed, and so many people threw a fit. Like, watch it all play out. Like, it's if I'm watching a season of a show that I like Homeland, and there's 12 episodes to the season. If something happens in episode 3 that I disagree with, I'm not going to throw the whole thing out the window. I'm going to let it play out and be like, hey, the writers probably know what the hell they're doing, and kind of enjoy the story. And then even if a season ends and I'm like, oh, I wish they didn't end it that way, I don't know. I'm going to come back for the next season and see where they're going with it, and I think that's the beauty of wrestling. Like, you can go 1,000 different directions, and it's not necessarily that any of them are wrong. It's just one person's vision and how it all plays out. So with NXT, they have something really special going on. I'm pretty sure that Kent is facing Fergal too on this thing.
Yep.
Like, you just can't go wrong. Like, how if you're a pro wrestler or a fan, either way, but especially for wrestlers, like how would you not want to watch this? Because it's like, okay, here's some of the best performers to learn from current day who do this current style. It's like it's can't miss for me.
Yeah, definitely can't miss it, and I think that's a fantastic note to end the interview on, man. Tommaso, I just want to thank you for the time. It was honestly a pleasure. If there's anything plug-wise you want to throw out there, show away, man.
Yeah, man, there's not too much. Twitter, at Project Ciampa, CIAMPA. I have a Facebook. It's maxed out, but you can still follow it, I believe. That's Tommaso Ciampa. My website is projectciampa.com, and that's where I sell, merch, shirts, etc. And the pay-per-view, which we talked enough about, but everybody by this point knows, being March 1st in Las Vegas. I do have a small surprise in store for it. I'm excited about, and on top of that, top to bottom, it's the best Ring of Honor card I can personally remember seeing. Not only am I excited about my match, which is normal, but I'm super excited to see Jay Lethal versus Al Patron. I'm super excited for the Bucks and Red Dragon to do this again. AJ Styles versus ACH, like, that's a dream matchup, As a fan, I'm excited about the matchups. And as a wrestler, I'm excited to have a world title opportunity. So hopefully people do tune into it. I think it's going to be one of the best shows of the year. So other than that, man, I appreciate you guys having me. And thank you for all the listeners out there.
Wish you all the best, man. Look forward to seeing you at Smash Wrestling on March the 15th. Just one more question before we get you off the air here. What size are you, buddy? Would love to get you in a Weekly Wrestling Podcast shirt.
It depends. If I'm wearing it to a ring, I tend to go large, and if I'm wearing it in real life, I tend to go XL.
Awesome, man.
So,
I'll get you one on March 15th. Beautiful, man. Thank you very much for the time.
Have a good one.
You too.